Good morning and welcome you all, Professor. For AICT Training and Learning Academy sponsored online 1-week faculty development program on emerging trends in applications of mathematics, conducting by Department of Mathematics, Dayanand Sagar College of Engineering. Today, we are in the 5th day of FTP. In this session with us, young scientist, Dr. Vijay Singh. Dr. Vijay Singh currently is the postdoctoral research fellow, Department of Mathematical Science, University of Zululand, South Africa. Dr. Vijay Singh is having more than 10 years of experience in the research as well as in teaching. His research area is general relativity and cosmology. He got awarded his doctoral degree in 2016 in Delhi Technological University, Delhi, India. He also interested in modified theory of gravitation, and he published more than 15 research articles in SCI journals and also presented several papers in the national and international conferences within and outside India. Dr. Vijay Singh participated and awarded the prizes in divisional, district, zonal level science exhibitions, functional model competitions conducted by Council of Science and Technology, Lucknow, Uttar Pradesh. He received Junior Research Fellowship from UGC India from 2010 to 2012. Also received Senior Research Fellowship from UGC India from 2012 to 2015. Now, he availing postdoctoral fellowship at the University of Zululand, South Africa since 2017. Dr. Vijay Singh is also part of many professional bodies like life member of Indian Associations for General Relativity and Gravitation, life member of Indian Mathematical Society, also a member of Society of Industrial and Applied Mathematics. A warm welcome to you, sir, behalf of Department of Mathematics, Dayanand Sagar College of Engineering. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir, for kind words for me. And I am very pleased again in this FTP. A few months before, actually, I also gave a talk, the role of mathematics to understanding the universe. And with Dr. Radha Gupta ma'am, she discussed with me that she wants to again, would like to invite me, and she, as she promised, I am again here.
Welcome to you, sir. On behalf of the management, the Dayanand Sagar institutions, and on behalf of the Atal committee, I actually welcome you once again.
Yeah, thank you very much, ma'am. I'm very happy, and I congratulate to all the teams of organizers of this FDP. And the topic is very sweet here: the emerging trends of mathematics, the applications of mathematics. So here, the topic what I am going to present is related to the universe, and it is very. Let me share the screen. The title first. Is it visible?
Yes, sir. It is visible, sir.
Okay. Let me make it. Yeah, now it is full view. Hope you are busy. It is visible clear?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, so the topic is emerging trends in application of mathematics. Is very nice. And here I am going to talk about the basic trends in mathematical cosmology. So this is our fortune that mathematics as this FDP is already, you have heard many talks, and you have seen that the applications of mathematics in many branches. But we are fortunate that the universe is also written in the language of mathematics. Though the background science is basically the physics, chemistry, and bio, that all the living entities are there, and the solar system is there, universe is there. But the behind the science, without mathematics, actually physics is incomplete. So here cosmology is not purely is a scientific subject, which is coming from the physics. But as you know, we are learning the physics from class 6 to, and even nowadays, even the schooling children, they also learn science. But as we grow in the higher classes, then we see there is a lot of mathematics in the physics. And this is the beauty of mathematics, that there is a particular branch which is known as cosmology. This is the subsubject of the astronomy and astrophysics. But in astronomy and astrophysics, the theories on which those subjects are based, those are basically stands on the mathematics. Without mathematics, we cannot actually formulate those theories. So the theme of the today's topic is to tell about that how the mathematician can work in this subject of cosmology. And I will show from the past that what the progress has been done in the past in this field, and what is going currently, and what is the future scope of the subject. So let me start with the history. That actually I'm not going into the details of the history. Otherwise, the topic is very vast. I will just give an idea that what are these things which are needed to understand the cosmology. So in the cosmology, the basic concept one has to be learned is the gravity. Without gravity, actually, we cannot think even about studying the universe. So as you know that the gravity concept is earlier given by Galileo Galilei around 500 years ago. Then Newton also gives some concepts, very strong and foundation concept about the gravity. But later, just before 1 century before, 100 years before, Einstein actually changed the concept of the gravity. So I will also discuss a little about that. Then to understand the universe, because the universe exists in space. And when we study the universe, so we study it on time scale, that how it was before and what will be its future. So time is also required in that case. So the concept of space-time here comes together. So we have to learn that how the space-time is viewed in the from the view of the different scientists, from Galileo, then Lorentz, and now Einstein. Then I will discuss about the changing vision of the cosmos, that what was understood before in 2, 3 means 100, not all, you can also be in the back, 1,000 years back even you can go. Then you can see what was the concept of the universe that time, then how it evolved with the time. Then now the most successful theory of the universe is the Big Bang theory. So I will give the idea that how this theory came into the existence and how the laws of this theory are mathematical, and what are the pros and cons in this theory, and what is the future scope. Then actually Big Bang theory just tell about the universe, that it is expanding one, but actually very recently, just 20 years before, we get a very exciting discovery in this field, that the expansion of the universe is speeding up. That is known as the accelerating expansion of the universe. And here, if you have many of you have heard the name of dark energy. So the concept of dark energy comes from this new discovery, accelerating expansion of the universe. Then I will conclude with the present and future observational cosmology. Though I work in mathematical cosmology, but mathematical cosmology, or the theoretical cosmology, or theoretical physics, or theoretical astrophysics, astronomy, these are incomplete without the observations. So it is necessary to discuss about the observational cosmology. So though I don't work in observational cosmology, but I will relate that how the theorists compare their theoretical models with the observations so that they can validate their model, that whether it is right, whether it fits with the observations or not. So let's start. Before exploring these topics, I just would like to give an idea that how enormous universe is. So let's start with our Earth. So here is the planet Jupiter. If you and these small balls, you can consider them as our Earth. So if you compare the size of these two planets, our Earth and this planet Jupiter, so around 1,000 Earth can be fit inside the Jupiter if there is some arrangement. So this is just for the comparison, not a practical situation. Here another comparison is there. This is the comparison with the Sun. So here is, suppose this is the planet Jupiter. Sorry, this is the star, our Sun, and here these small balls are the planet Jupiter. So around 1,300 Jupiter can be fit inside the Sun. So this is the size of the Sun we can imagine in compared to our Earth. And you know, when we travel on the Earth, then how much time it takes. Suppose this conference is held in Bangalore, and suppose I am sitting in Delhi. So it will take, if I travel with the train, then it takes more than 15-16 hours. And similarly, if you travel with the flight, then it also takes around 2 hours. So even the surface of the Earth is so vast, and you can imagine now how the vast thing exists in the universe. So here is another comparison on the right hand side. This is the boundary. This color actually U/Y Scuti. This is this is a star, and here this is small dot. If you can see it, this is our Sun. So actually, this is the comparison that how enormous stars exist in the universe. Actually, the stars exist in the galaxies, and galaxies exist in the universe. So I'm not talking even about the galaxies. I'm just talking about the star. So the few stars are so huge that even our Sun looks like a dot. Yeah. So if you just want to comparison like this, as I told you in the left hand side, so nearly 5.1 billion Sun could fit inside the U/Y Scuti, the largest star so far. So this is the, and if you talk about the galaxy, suppose this is our Milky Way galaxy. So here, even the Sun, this dot, if you can see here, this is our Sun, and the star I'm talking about that exists in the other part of the Milky Way. So though all those stars exist in one galaxy, and there are so many galaxies, billions of galaxies are spreading in the space or in the universe. And if we talk about that, sometimes you heard in the news that a new planet has discovered, or when we look into the sky at the night, very clean night, and then you will see some stars. Actually, those stars you cannot even see the stars of all the stars of our Milky Way. You can see the stars only inside this circle, because the light from the outside this circle does not come to us, so we cannot see them with our naked eyes. However, it is possible to see them by the use of telescope, but theoretically, with the naked eyes, actually, those are not visible, or even we cannot see all the stars of our Milky Way. Forget about to see the other galaxies. Other galaxies are seen with the use of the telescope. So here is now the one more comparison. Now you can actually maybe strange about this. Here another comparison given. Now this dot is our Milky Way galaxy. So if we talk about the universe, then even our galaxy just nothing but the like a point. And here is another galaxy, which you know, that very famous galaxy, Andromeda galaxy. This is the nearest galaxy to our Milky Way. And there is another galaxy, M87. This is the size in compared to our Milky Way galaxy. And you heard that there is a image of black hole I will talk about later. black hole image has been detected in 2019, and that black hole exists in this galaxy M87. And this is the IC1101. This is the largest known galaxy so far we have discovered. So you can compare that if even our Milky Way galaxy is just a dot. Here, these are the stars, but our Milky Way galaxy is just like a star in compared to this largest known galaxy. Here, right hand side, I have given the comparison that how large is our Milky Way galaxy. Here it is the size given 100,000 light years. So what does it mean, 100,000 light years? It means that if you want to travel, if you want to travel from one age to the another age, then it takes 100,000 years. Galaxy as in our observable universe, as I told, and it is 60 times greater than our Milky Way galaxy. 60 times. Okay. So let's go further. Here, I am just giving an idea that every galaxy actually rotating. So when the galaxy rotates, all the stars rotates around the center of the galaxy. So here, suppose our sun exists somewhere here. So if this sun is rotating with the arms of the galaxy, and how much time it takes to travel the one round. So sun travels around the galaxy once every 200 million years, a journey of about 100,000 light years. That is equivalent to the circumference of where the sun is revolving. So here is another comparison is given. Think you didn't go anywhere this year, because last year, in 2020, most of the people actually were sitting at home because of the COVID situation. So if you are thinking that I didn't go anywhere, but actually, the Earth is also revolving around the sun, and the speed of that, the revolving speed is around 30 kilometers per second. I'm talking about second, okay? 30 kilometers per second. So this is, if you don't go anywhere in 1 year, so every person on the Earth is traveling 540 million miles every year, because Earth is revolving around the sun. And here is another fact that even if you, if we suppose we are able to travel with the speed of light, then I already told about it will take 100,000 years to cross the Milky Way. If we want to reach to the another galaxy with the speed of light, then it will take 100,000 years. And here is another comparison is given. If we take the sun as the size of the human cell, so human cell, very tiny. Even they can't be seen by the naked eyes. You need a microscope to see the human cell. But suppose our sun is equal to the one human cell, then what is the size of the Milky Way? The Milky Way size is equal to the USA country. All the states together, the whole part region is equivalent to our Milky Way galaxy, where a small cell is equivalent to the sun. So in the universe so far, this much from the theoretic to exist. And this is another to the book actually. So that the theme of the talk is that how do we do that? Okay. So let's start with the definition of the cosmology. Cosmology is a branch of the astronomy, while astronomy deals with the individual celestial object like stars and galaxies. Cosmology is concerned with the whole universe. The whole universe means from what is the origin of the universe, how it evolved, and what will be the ultimate fate, or means what is the future of the universe. And what we do actually in cosmology, we actually formulate a model. So it includes developing and refining the cosmological model. So I will tell that how a cosmological model is formulated. As I already told that Big Bang Theory is a cosmological model. So how it came in, how it was developed. So here the most successful model is the Big Bang model. So let's start with that how this model can be formulated. So cosmology has three scientific revolutions in this field. In the first slide, actually, I discussed about that this science is very ancient. So here we earlier, as you know, we have a Earth-centered universe, and this physics is known as the physics of Aristotle. Aristotle was not actually a scientist; he was just like a philosopher, and he gave some philosophical ideas. But that time, actually, that was the acceptable point about the universe. And that time, the big idea was different laws for the Earth and the cosmos. And the next is the physics of Newton. Then we have already read it in our schooling, the Newton's laws and the other things related to that. Here we have a sun-centered model that is known as Nicolaus Copernicus model. And here the physics is known by as the universal physics. And the laws of the physics are same everywhere according to this era. Then we have the modern era, the physics of Einstein. Here we have the model of the universe, which is known as the Big Bang model. And here the idea is universe actually we know so far, universe is evolving and changing. So let's have a brief idea that I talk about the Aristotle's on gravity, because I told you the gravity is the main concept to understand the universe. So here Aristotle told that rate of which an object falls depends on its mass. It means the heavier the object, the faster it falls. So this was the concept at that time. It's very ancient time. It is around 300, 400 BC before Christ. And here now the Galileo Galilei came, which was also known as the father of the modern science. And he was the first person who used the telescope to see the sky. And he also told that the laws of the nature are mathematical. And he also founded the basic principle of relativity, which is known as the laws of the physics are same in any system that is moving at a constant speed in a straight line, regardless of its particular speed or direction. And this idea for the Einstein, Einstein actually proposed the special theory of relativity, and this idea actually it uses there. So here, actually Galileo proved Aristotle wrong. How he proved? There is a story that he climbed on the Leaning Tower of Pisa and he dropped 2 balls. So old idea was that the heavier ball will reach the ground faster than the small ball. But he observed that both balls touch the ground at the same time. Means it does not matter what is the mass of the ball. Gravity works on the all masses exactly same. So this was the more about it, that Einstein also gave the theory, Einstein theory of relativity, special theory of relativity, and general relativity. So all the concepts in those theories are now going to be, almost all the concept has been proven right. So let's go further. This is the Isaac Newton later after Galileo, and we already all read his laws, Newton's first law, second law, and third law. So this first law as we know, unbalanced force are necessary to move or change the object. So this is the same first law actually we see in this video, because in vacuum, no external force was exerted on the feeder and on the ball. So that's why exactly the same force of the gravity was pulling both objects toward the center of the earth, and there was no air resistance. That's why actually both objects fall on the ground at the same time. And because of the basis of this, Newton formulated his law, this F equal to ma, and you know very well the third law, action and reaction. And this was the basis that he actually, you can say Newton was the person who invented the gravity, that this is the concept of gravity. Because you know, there is a story of the apple that it fell on the head of the Newton, and then he thought about that why it fall towards the earth, why it didn't shoot upwards. So he came with the idea that I must have some attraction force which pulls apples towards its center, and this unseen force is known as the gravity. He named it as gravity. So this was the whole idea about the so far the concept of the gravity. And now actually the gravity, the idea of the gravity will be changed with the Einstein. I will discuss later. But now let's discuss about the concept of space-time. In Galileo's space-time, there is a mathematical rule, as Galileo told that the laws of the universe or the laws of the physics or must be mathematical. So here there are two frames. Second frame is moving with the velocity v in the direction of this y-axis, and these are the coordinates of the both axes. So what was the idea? That if some observer is sitting in one frame, then he can measure the events which are taking place in the another frame. So, and how actually both observer can be agree. So both observer can be agree with these mathematical laws. The very simple idea is when actually we sit in the train and other train is moving either in the opposite direction or in the same direction. So we observe the different velocities, but actually how we can relate those velocities. So the person who is sitting, standing outside, he can see that the speed of the train is this. And if we are sitting in the inside the train and another train is moving, then we will see the speed of the train related to speed of our train. But actually both, suppose one person is standing outside the train, so he will see that the one train is passing through with the speed of 100 km/h, and second train is passing with the speed of 120 km/h. So who is right or who is wrong? The outside person is measuring something and we are measuring something. So actually both are not saying the different story. They are observing the same thing, but in their point of view, the speed is different. So both, it depends actually who is observing the events. So if one person is observing, who is sitting in this frame, he will observe the different things, and the other person who is sitting in the another frame, he will observe the different. Suppose this is the incident which is taking place on the these coordinates x dash, y dash, and z dash. So the observer who is sitting in this frame, he can actually relate these events in his coordinate system. So this is the concept of the space-time. Here actually what is the basic idea? The idea is the last. The time is absolute. Time is absolute means the same example as I was giving, that for the time who is sitting outside is same, and the time who is sitting inside the train is same. So because the watch of the both observer are synchronized. Okay, so they observe the same time. But actually this concept of space-time will be changed with the Einstein special theory of relativity. This is the main idea. So let's go further here. This now Einstein came. So Galileo finished off the concept of absolute space, in which we have saw that the rules of these coordinate rules can be linked with those laws, the transformation laws. But Einstein added there is no absolute time. So he kept the idea that time is the fourth dimension. The fourth dimension means we have the three dimensions already: x-axis, y-axis, and z-axis. But there should be a time dimension also should be there, because there are some situations where actually both observer cannot be agreed in the time also. Okay, so they have different times. Actually, I will discuss in the next slide. So here, 1905, at the age of 26, Einstein unveiled his own ideas on the issue of the space and time, and formulated the spatial theory of relativity. This changed the perception of space and time. So here is the classical relativity, as I discussed. Suppose there is another example. Earlier I gave an example of train, but here is another example. This is a suppose batsman and this is a fielder. So he hit the ball with this speed, suppose 30 meters per second, and the fielder is running in the opposite direction with the speed 10 meters per second. So as we learned in our schooling, that what will be the effective speed? The ball and the field of the running outfielder will be, because these are the opposite directions, so it will add it 40 meters per second. But in special theory of relativity, the rules are different. How the rules are different? Einstein proposed that all these relative speeds work except the speed of light. Speed of light does not follow this rule. Speed of light can be the maximum possible speed. So here is another example. Suppose this is an astronaut with a flashlight. He is flashing the torch, and from the torch, the light goes with the speed 3 into 10 to 8 meters per second. And here is another astronaut which is flying in a spaceship, and his speed is 1 into 10 to 8 meters per second. So if you have the Newton description, so this, because again the speed of the light and the another spaceship are opposite, so they must be added. So if you added this speed, so it is becomes 4 into 10 to power 8 meters per second. But this is beyond the speed of the light. So Einstein corrected that, as seen by the astronomer, light is approaching her at with this speed. Okay, she will not observe that the light is speeding with the faster speed. So this is the idea that the speed of the light is the maximum possible speed. And on this basis, he formulated the laws of the spatial relativity. So in this spatial theory of relativity, there is a concept of the space and time, different concept. What is the different concept? Here, suppose there are two observers. One observer is moving and another observer is standing. And there is an incident, suppose this incident is taking place. So both observer, the time will be different. Okay. For this observer who is moving, for her, the time will be different. And for her, the time will be different. So here there are different laws. So there is a frame of reference for this guy, and there is a frame of reference for this lady. Okay. So how they can be related? So they can be related by these laws. Okay. This is these transformation laws are known as Lorentz transformations, and these Lorentz transformations are used in the spatial theory of relativity. So both observer can now relate with this law that pi is not just pi plus vt. Earlier in the Newtonian frame, it was just this factor, not this denominator factor. But here there is another factor comes into the existence. And similarly for time, time is not absolute. Not absolute means t is not equal to t dash, but it is different. Okay, this is different by this factor. And because of this transformation laws, the event is taking place anywhere in the space, as well as we are measuring the time. So both observer can be agree with this law, that what is the difference between the two events. So that interval is not only the interval distance, or you can say there is two events are taking place into the space. suppose is point A and point B. So these 2 points are in fact are at some distance, and that distance can be measured from these 3 ordinates, because suppose one ordinate is origin. So you know what is the distance formula? X minus 0 whole square, y minus 0 whole square, and z minus 0 whole square, and square root of it. So for square root, I put it here d square. So square root is not there on the right hand side. But here, if you are measuring 2 incidents which are taken at the same place, but they are different in the time frame. So place is same. So they are also, the distance of the events can also be differ with the time. So this is the factor that you can find that distance. So because these are the distances, x is distances, y is distance, z distance. So this must be distance, because you cannot subtract time from the distance. So what is done, the speed of light c square must be multiplied with this, so that the units are satisfied. So this is distance. Now this is also distance. Distance square minus distance square is square root of that. This is ultimately the distance. So actually this is used when you apply these theories in the universe, because in the universe different events take place, and sometimes actually we trace out the past of the universe, sometimes we detect the future of the universe. So in the past and future, to go into the past and to go into the future, we must have the time difference also. So this is the whole idea. And if you have the very small speed, suppose some experiment is taking place, as the speed of the train, speed of the car are very negligible in compared to the speed of light. So you can say velocity in that case is very, very small in compared to the speed of light. So in that case, these transformation laws reduces to the Galilean transformation. Why? Because if V is very small and C is very large, this factor vanishes. When this factor vanishes, so we have the same transformation laws as we have in the Galilean transformation. So Galilean transformation are still valid for the small speeds on the ground. So here is another fact that Einstein formulated this theory not as a scientist in some lab or the university. That time Einstein was working just as a patent third class scholar in a patent office. So where he developed this theory, and this is the most exciting theory so far, because it is beyond sometimes our perception. I have not added those slides which are show some consequences of the special relativity, because I have to discuss the general relativity and have to give idea about the cosmology. So, but I have added this only one slide, that mass energy relation, which is known as E equal to mc square. This is the consequences of the Einstein's special theory of relativity. That mass can be converted into the energy, and energy can be converted into the mass. So here is the so far actually Einstein's special theory of relativity working well. What happens? Actually, it fails. It fails in some circumstances. What are the those circumstances? So there was a incident when this theory was applied in the solar system. So it predict the positions of the planets except the Mercury planet. Okay, when you apply the special theory of relativity, so Mercury planet prediction actually does not come true. Why it does not come true? Because I have explained this fact here. The point closest to Sun in the planetary orbit is called the perihelion, and what they detected that time, Einstein formulated a special theory of relativity in 1905. Okay, then they tried to predict the positions of the planets. All the predictions were going true except this Mercury planet. What was happening that time? Mercury orbits processes about the Sun 43 seconds of arc per century. Means in 100 years, actually it does not trace back its paths. It precedes 43 seconds ahead. Okay, so what does it mean? Suppose this was the first position of the Mercury, and after 100 years, what will happen? it will not follow the same orbit, but it will change with the 43 seconds angle. Okay, then it will come here. So it is also shown in this figure that whenever the Mercury planet is revolving around the sun, in every revolution, it precesses 40 some angle. Okay, and in 100 years, the difference is 43 seconds. So Einstein worked around 10 years on this fact. Then he came with a book. When you do all the experiments in your lab, but when you apply those rules in the car, in the train, or in the spaceship, then they all get failed. Why those get failed? Because Einstein proposes that the compartment, this is not stationary but moving with the opposite direction, who is going beyond the Earth. So if it is going, suppose, with the acceleration minus 9.8 meter per second square, you know, whenever any object falls towards the Earth, so acceleration is 9.8 meter per second square. And when you will just have a spaceship which is moving upward direction with the opposite same acceleration, so it will feel like a gravity-free environment. Here it is mentioned, it will feel a gravity-free environment. What does it mean? When you have a weighted machine and you are weighting you are standing on the weighting machine, then you will feel no weight. You will be weightless. Okay. So this is the main concept here. This is the principle of equivalence. Principle of equivalence means the same thing. Now you can take this compartment into the space, and suppose it is moving with the acceleration of 9 meter per second square. So we know that in space there is no gravity. Okay, after a certain point there is no gravity. But if some spaceship is moving with this acceleration, that will behave just like Earth. Okay, so you can do all the experiment inside that spaceship as you are doing on the Earth. Okay, so these two frames becomes equivalent. This frame under gravity and this is accelerating frame in the space. So what the Einstein idea was that a uniform gravitational field in some direction is indistinguishable from a uniform acceleration in the opposite direction. And gravity is now actually, here is the idea. We know gravity is produced by the mass. Okay, so Earth, because has some mass, that's why there is a gravity, and it works up to a certain height or certain distance. But there is no mass. I am taking my spaceship into the space where there is no mass. Then still the same gravity can be felt if the frame is moving with this acceleration. So it means gravity is not the feature of the mass, but gravity is a kinematic force. Okay, this was the main concept which Einstein helped to formulate his general theory of relativity. So this, in this frame, I will describe that what is the Einstein general theory of relativity. So this is the generalization of the special theory of relativity, and it gives the unified description of gravity as a geometric property of space-time. So geometric property of space-time, can be seen in this slide here. What is this is some massive object is putting here. So around this object, what it does, it creates a distorted the fabrics of the space-time, and it is shown here. So if some other object is moving or which is passing through this massive objects, then its path is decided by the massive object. Okay, because it has distorted the space-time. So in this frame, very in simple language, you can understand that the matter tells to space-time how to curve, and space-time tells matter how to move. So this was the main concept which I described in the previous slide. Okay, here what Einstein did, the curvature of the space-time is directly related to the energy and momentum, whatever the matter and radiation at the present, and the relation can be specified by the Einstein field equation. So these equations, if you not have gone through all the tensor, okay, maybe few of you have gone through the tensor. So this is a tensorial quantity. This is known as the Einstein tensor, and here is another tensor T mu. This is the matter tensor. So what is Einstein related to both things? This is the space-time. Okay, the fabric is the space-time, and its geometry can be described by this tensor. And the matter is putting here, and another matter is moving. So that matter can be associated with energy momentum tensor. So why tensor? The question is why tensor? So the beauty of the tensor is that because as I this describes the geometry. Geometry means around this object, or you can say space of around this object, and this is the energy momentum tensor or the matter. So this is the beauty of the general theory of relativity, and these are the equations when applied together with some other principle, or I will discuss just the next slide. So this gives the equations which govern the universe, which is the basis of the Big Bang theory. Okay, so let's explain this idea. First of all, how success of GR. So first of all, GR explained the perihelion precessions of the Mercury planet, and this is the basis of the Big Bang model of the expansion of the universe. And the predictions of general relativity in relation to the classical physics have been confirmed in all observational and experiments to the date. What are those experiments? It was the Einstein general theory of relativity which predicted the existence of the black holes. Okay, when you have the solutions of this equation, those solutions leads to the some objects must be exist in the universe which are known as the black holes. And for the before the 2019, it was just a hypothetical concept that whether the black holes exist or not. But now, after the confirmation, observational evidence, it is proved that Einstein theory was not wrong. It is well-tested theory. And another concept is existence of gravitational waves. This is also recently confirmed. And another concept, the bending of the light. The bending of the light by the gravity. So it was the first experiment which were tested just after coming into the existence of the general relativity. So I will discuss this one by one. This is the first test, light bending in the curved space-time. So there is a story behind this picture. What actually was the story? In 1919, actually the scientists came to know there is a great scientist that time who has to take the astronomical, who was the astronomer in fact, Sir Arthur Eddington. So he came to know there is a solar eclipse is going to be held in 1990. So what he wanted to test the general relativity, because general relativity told that there is a the mass distorted the space-time. So he thought that sun must have distorted the space-time around it. That's why actually Mercury planets behave differently. So Einstein proposed that in the theory of special relativity or in general relativity, even the light when passes through near the massive object, it also affected by the gravity. It also affected by the space-time. Okay, around the massive object, the space-time is distorted, and when the light passes through in that space-time, it also affects. So what they thought that when there will be a solar eclipse, so there must some stars behind the sun, and those stars cannot be seen. Okay, those stars cannot be seen because the sun is in between the Earth and the star. So you cannot see it. But if it is seen, suppose, if it is seen, then it means general theory of relativity is correct. Why? Because suppose the light of that star is coming straightly, and it is the sun is obstructing that light, but some light which is passing through this path, that must be go in this direction. But if Einstein theory of relativity is correct, then it must be pulled toward the Earth. Okay, so what happened? They observed the same thing. It was the very, very exciting discovery that time, that this incident proved that yes, the general relativity is correct. They seen in the daytime a star which is behind the sun. Okay, this was the star. When there was a complete solar eclipse, there was completely dark, and when there is completely dark, you can see the stars. And that stars actually was not located other than the place behind us. Okay, so this was the apparent location of the star. The star was located at this point. However, there was no actual stars at this position. So it means there was a star behind the sun which was visible during the solar eclipse. So it was proved the general theory of relativity correct. Okay, and there is actually long story. I'm not going to discuss that. They wanted to do this experiment in the Europe, but actually that time there was a world war and they could not do this experiment in it. So they decided to do this experiment in the USA. So they went to the Brazil and completed this experiments. So now there is another successful story of the existence of black hole. You know how this is a very exciting news in 2019, that the Event Horizon Telescope, there is a array of the telescope which is situated in the different different countries around the globe. Here, Chile, South Pole, Mexico, Hawaii, Arizona, Greenland, France, and Spain. So many telescopes are put it here, and they are observing. These are not the telescopes like the normal light telescope, or you can say they can also see the light, but they can see the radiation also. They can see many things. So these are extraordinary actually telescopes. So the first image of black hole came at the center of galaxies, as I told in the beginning. Messier 87 galaxy was published by the EST collaboration on April 10, 2019. So this is the second thing which proved that Einstein's general theory of relativity is a correct theory. And this is another probe, that is gravitational waves. I will discuss in the next slide. First, we have to learn that what are the gravitational waves. So Einstein's general theory of relativity also predicts that when actually there are two very, very massive objects like black hole, or actually there is if you have heard the name neutron star. Okay, they actually sometimes they merge when they come together. So actually they revolve very, very fast. They revolve very, very fast, and when they are revolving very, very fast, so there must some gravitational waves. But actually those black holes or massive objects are so far, when the effect of their gravity reaches to the Earth, it is almost negligible. It cannot be detected with the normal experiments. So there are very special experiments or telescopes, radio telescopes are there which can detect. So I will discuss that how these gravitational waves were detected and confirm that the general theory of relativity is correct. So there is a observatory which is known as the Laser Interferometer Gravitational Wave Observatory live. Okay, it is situated in the Washington State and Louisiana State of USA, and this is a very big observatory, and it contains two arms, 4 kilometers each. So there is an arm 4 kilometers here and 4 kilometers here. So there is a technique which is known as the interferometer. When gravitational waves detect in the both arms, so actually they have the center unit here, and they have the two stations. This is mid station, this is the end station, and in this interferometer technique, they can detect the gravitational waves. So this is a very precise an observatory designed to detect cosmic gravitational waves by laser interferometer for less than 1/10,000 with charge diameter of a proton. That's a very, very small fraction, very hard to detect. Observatories collected data from 2002 to 2010, but that time no gravitational waves were detected. But actually that one, the capability of those observatory was not that much sufficient, which can detect the gravitational waves. But the advanced LIGO project enhanced the original LIGO detector began in 2008, and the improved detector began operation in 2015. And finally, in 2016, the gravitational waves were reported. Why this? LIGO scientific collaboration, which is known as short form LHC, and the Virgo collaboration with more than 1,000 international scientists from all over the world, and it was given Nobel Prize for this discovery in 2017. Actually, when there is some big because these things are so vast from because on the Earth is like spherical. So from the all universe, the informations are coming. So one observatory at one place cannot detect all the things. So now there is another trend that the scientists all over the globe, they are coming together and they are doing the collaboration for this kind of extraordinary discoveries. And without that, it is not possible actually. And there is a future LIGO upgrades, and India will also contribute in it. They are building a more advanced gravitational waves detectors as a part of the series of upgrades supported by 92 collaborating institutions. So including several in the UK, and LIGO is still growing with a third detector site being developed in India. And it will be known as the Indian Initiative in Gravitational Wave Observations. INDIGO this is the consortium of the Indian gravitational waves physicists. And this is an initiative to set up the advanced experimental facility for a multi-institutional observatory project in the gravitational wave astronomy. And it will be located near Ondha, Nagnath, Hingoli district, Maharashtra. And it will work around 2040. This is the expected date, which will be for the functioning of this advanced observatory. So now let's come back because I want to discuss this general theory of relativity applied to the universe, and how for that we have to learn about the cosmological model. So in the cosmological model, the simplest model is that the universe on the very, very large scale. Large scales, it is around megaparsec distance. Megaparsec distance are 1 megaparsec is 3.26 light years. So it is a very huge distance. So on this large scale, if you see the universe, it looks same everywhere. So we can say the universe is homogeneous. Homogeneous means if you go into any part of the universe, one part is indistinguishable from the another part, and the same concept of the cosmological principle helps to formulate a metric, particular metric, which is written in the mathematical format in this equation. So this is again the same equation to measure the distance or events in the universe. So here another factor comes a square. A square just comes because of the general relativity, because general relativity tells that when space-time expands, it does not expand in the uniform manner, but it can decelerate or it can accelerate because of the fabric of the space-time. So this is the line element. So what is the cosmological model? So far, what I discussed the general relativity. In this slide, I discussed the cosmological principle, and there is a matter in the universe. Matter I have not discussed so far. That is another zone or another field, but the ordinary matter we will consider here. So this all together makes the standard cosmological model, and this is the basis. All these things together is the basis of the Big Bang theory. So here is the this is equation. I told you about the tensor equation I discussed with the general relativity. When you applied this cosmological principle here, okay, when you applied this principle in those Einstein field equations, then you end up with the differential equation. So this is a differential equation. I don't know if you can see there is a dot here. So this is actually a velocity, a dot over a. So velocity square, and there this is the g is the gravitational Newton's gravitational constant, and rho is the energy density, whatever the matter exists in the universe. So if you see this equation, this is equation known as the Friedmann equation, and it is also, you can say, expansion or contraction equation. Why expansion or contraction equation? Because this is a velocity, and velocity, if the right hand side is positive, so we can say velocity is positive, means velocity is positive, means the universe is expanding. And when the velocity is negative, we can say the universe is contracting. Okay. So if you see, because when the universe expands, so what will be happen with the density? Density will be reduced because the same matter existing in the large space. So density will reduce. So density will goes to 0. So when the density goes to 0, so velocity must be reduced. Velocity must be reduced to 0. It means universe is expanding, but with the expansion is expansion should be slowed down. Okay, so this was the concept. But here, what was the idea when Einstein applied this theory to understand the universe? So he has own belief that the universe must be static. But this equation is not saying that the universe is static. So that time actually it was only the Milky Way was supposed as the whole universe. So it was supposed that this is the whole universe and it must be static, because when at that time the people see the sky, they just see the stars, and stars are static. When the stars are static, so they thought that the universe must be static. So what Einstein did, Einstein added a constant. Earlier I showed those equations, there was not this guy here, but Einstein added this later because this is necessary. It can stop the expansion of the universe, and it can make it static. So what is this constant is known as the cosmological constant. And here, when you take this constant on the right hand side, then what will happen? This is a positive quantity and this is a negative quantity. So those quantities are balanced and it becomes 0. It becomes 0 means there is no velocity. No velocity means there is a static universe. So Einstein forcefully actually made the universe static. But what happened in 1929? This general theory of relativity was proposed in 1970. And just after around 12-13 years, Edwin Hubble, he was an astronomer and he has the most advanced telescope that time. He has to watch the galaxies, and that time he discovered many galaxies apart from our Milky Way galaxy. And he came that with a fact that the galaxies are moving apart from each other. So it means universe must not be static, but it should be expanding. So he made a law, this Hubble law, and V is the radiation velocity here. When we say that the universe is expanding, it does not mean that galaxies are flying in the space, but all the space-time actually expanding, like as shown here. I will also show in the next slides. So after this discovery, Einstein said that this is my biggest blunder, adding the cosmological constant in my field equation. Because without adding that constant, his original equation was showing that the universe is expanding. But due to his own belief, he added that constant forcefully. Otherwise, he was not. If he had not confirmed that the universe must be static or expanding, that his own equation before the observations were telling that universe must be expanding. Okay, so Einstein regretted for this blunder of his life, but just soon after, I will say that I will show that it was not a blunder of his. Even his blunder was a. So this is complete all about the Big Bang theory. Here we have the three things: cosmological principle and general relativity, and this is our law. And the prediction is that according to the Big Bang theory, because today's universe is like this. So if we trace it out in the back into the time, it must be denser. It must be denser. It must be hotter in the past, and we should see some evidence left over the heat from all the universe. So observation is that leftover heat from the early universe, it is detected in 1946 and 1965 with the observations. These are the two scientists, and they detected with the telescope some cosmic microwave background radiation. This radiation is not coming from the present universe, but it is coming from very distant place. And whenever you talk about the distance in the universe, so it means you are talking about the past. Why? Because as I told you, if you want to go to the nearest star, so a very simple example, if you want to go to the sun, then it takes to 8 minutes when you travel with the speed of light, because the light of the light from the sun takes 8 minutes to reach the earth. So the light today's we are observing, it started 8 minutes ago. Okay, just if you go outside and you see the sun, you are seeing a sun 8 minutes old, because that light started 8 minutes before. Okay, so that's why suppose this radiation has detected by some telescope, radio telescope. So this radiation is coming from very distant place, and that from those places are so far that even the radiation takes billions of years to reach the earth. So it means this picture is not today's picture, but this picture of the universe, of the old universe. Okay. So here is I have given one idea that if you put a giant mirror 10 light years away from Earth, then look at through a telescope, theoretically we had seen 20 years into the past. Okay, because 10 years it will take to reach the light, and 10 years it will take that when it will reflect to us. Okay, so that's why this is the concept. So as I told you, the planets, the star and galaxies are not flying away into the space, but space itself expanding. So this is a concept of expanding space. When you blow a balloon, when you fill the air in the balloon, so if you put two dots on the balloon, so those dots actually does not go, they not fly actually. Only the distance between those two dots is increases. So this is the concept of expanding universe. So what was the Big Bang? Just if you trace it about back into the time, then you will have the picture of the old universe. And this is the picture of 375,000 years old picture, because radiation is coming from that distant places. And if you go into the more past, then you can see it becomes more denser and more hotter, and it becomes so hotter and so dense, the gravity cannot hold, and it expands in this way. So that's why the Big Bang concept came into the existence, because the equations are telling like this. When you have at the time zero, the temperature becomes infinite, the density becomes infinite, everything. So the physical situation is like that, that cannot stable. When it is not stable, it expands. It expands very fast. So this is the pictorial graph when you trace the times back into the time. So this is the time 3000 years, stable atoms from radiation and matter separates. This was the situation when the atoms form. And this is the 3 minutes after the Big Bang. And this is 1 second when the matter was in the form of quarks, hadrons, and electrons and neutrinos. And that is the time when there were no star, no matter. And this is the fraction of seconds just after the Big Bang. And this is a very, here the point, when the Big Bang point is there. It can be seen in this picture also. This is the beginning of the universe. So here, this is the today's, when we have the stars and galaxies, 15 billion years around, and we have the temperature of the universe is absolute temperature, which we known as -270 degrees Celsius. This is 1 billion years, and this is 3000 years. This is 3 minutes, then 10 to -6 seconds, and this is -10 to -32 seconds. The temperature is very, very high, 10 to 27 degrees Celsius. And this is the time 10 to power -43 seconds, just very fraction of second of the time. So that's why the concept of the Big Bang came. That these are the physical situations which give the idea that there must be a Big Bang. Because the physical situation at that point are like that. When these kinds of physical situation will be there, the matter will be expanded like this, and it will be formed like this. First electron will be formed, then quark will be formed, then neutron will be formed, then proton, then hydrogen nucleus will be formed, then helium nucleus will be formed, then hydrogen and helium molecules will become together. Then they have the hydrogen atoms, and hydrogen atoms are the basis of the universe, hydrogen and helium, because all these stars basically are made of these two elements. And then the formations of the stars, and all these stars form, they come into the form of the galaxies, and from some stars the matter actually separated, so that forms the planets. So these then planets take to time to cool down, and when the temperature then the situations are like that, it cools down, and it the life is possible on that. So the last point of this
Vijay sir?
Yeah, yes sir.
Sir, sorry for interrupt. 11,
yeah.
We will stop this session, sir. 5 minutes we will give break for the participants. 11:35 again resume that session.
Okay, no problem, sir.
Okay. Okay. Continue, sir. Sorry.
Okay.
Will you stop here only, sir, or can we continue another 2 minutes? Vijay, sir?
Okay, let me explain this slide.
Yes, sir.
Okay. This is the most exciting discovery which just take place 20 years before. That I told you that the universe is expanding. This was the discovery takes place around 90 years before. But if you see, this is another equation that is the consequence of the same equations as Einstein field equations. This is double dot here, if you see here, and this is a negative sign here. So acceleration is negative. So actually that's why I was telling that if this is a positive quantity, because velocity, the density is positive, and because matter exerts the gravitational force, the pressure is also positive. So when density and pressure is positive, this whole quantity is positive, but the negative sign tells that the the acceleration of the universe is negative. It means it is not accelerated but decelerated. So there was no concept before 1998 that the universe is accelerating. All the scientists and people are knowing that the universe is decelerating. Decelerating means universe is expanding, but the expansion is slowing down. But what happens? Universe is expanding with decelerated rate. This idea that expansion of the universe is slowing down survived for almost 70 years. Okay, but in 1998, two teams came with the conclusion that the expansion of the universe is speeding up. And for this discovery, three scientists got the Nobel Prize in 2011. But the question is that what does repel the cosmos? Because we know the matters in the universe has the gravitational force. So if there is a gravitational force, it must be pulled together. But why actually it is going away, and why its speeding is expansion speed is increasing? So scientists hypothesize some unknown energy, which is, but they gave it name the dark energy. Okay, so I think I should stop here. I will discuss the concept of dark energy in my second session.
Thank you, sir. Now I request participants. Now it is 11:30. At 11:35, we will resume for the next session. Thank you, Nanda.